Well, I'm looking across the table here at a very beautiful young lady, but I'm not going to tell you who she is yet. I'm not, but I will in a moment. This is Coach Z with the uh, before, long ago, and today. What do we call it?
Then and now.
The then and now. And I am the then, and this young lady is the now. But before we start, I just want to show you that this is a Indiana University sweatshirt. And the young lady sitting across from me, she's an alumni of Indiana. So you can all start guessing who she might be. Over in the corner there, it's proof that I was a freshman football coach at Ladue. And we beat Clayton every time I coached against them, even though my friend across from here is a Clayton graduate.
You got to know your audience.
And then back here, that's a Clayton Greyhound football jersey that I got because I used to follow my grandson, Jake Brown. And he was a really good football player, and he was a really good catcher in baseball. He had one problem in baseball, though. He couldn't hit. But anyway, we'll go on.
We always have some of those.
I know. There's a whole bunch of guys down at just two Stadium Plaza. A couple guys can't hit down there sometimes. But anyway, it's all good. I do want to take a shout out. Yesterday, I had lunch with some really great men. I was with Steve Nicolarette, the retired baseball coach at St. Louis University, and then Rich Eichhorst, who's an icon. And Rich is just one of the finest men. He's 92 years old, and he's going to receive the highest education award ever given at the end of this month down at the Lake of the Ozarks. And he was a great referee in the NFL. And then another guy who was there, Steve Barth. Steve's a great young man who also was a good official, but his dad, Gene Barth, is an iconic man. He passed away at the age of 60, but he was an NFL referee, and he wore a white hat in a Super Bowl, so that's pretty strong. But now that I'm done with all, and Paul Valina was also with us yesterday, and Paul, great guy, a Big Ten football official, retired, and his dad, Johnny Valina, was a terrific umpire. So there you go. And here we go. And now I'm going to introduce my guest. And you're going to have to tell me this, Tamar Sher. And I understand there's a something about your name, about the Tamar.
Oh, what
about? How you were named by your wonderful parents.
Oh, did they spoil it for you? Did they tip you off that this is a story? Because this has been a story my whole life, because the name Tamar is derived, it's Hebrew, and it means date palm tree. It's sweetness. And it's one of the most common names in Israel. My mom studied there. She goes there for work constantly. But when she learned the name Tamar, she said, well, that's no matter who my husband's going to be, that's going to be the name of my daughter. And so then she meets my dad, Howie. They fall in love. 4 months after they started dating, they get engaged. Then eventually after their marriage, they had me. Mom says, okay, we're going to name her Tamar. And my dad says, you know, she's going to get a lot of crap because no one's going to know how to say her name. Like, shouldn't we just name her something easy like Mia, something that someone knows how to spell? My mom said, absolutely not. Her name's going to be Tamar. It's going to be beautiful. And now everyone has to know my name because I'm on the local news and covering sports. So now I say my name all the time. It's commonly Tamara, Tamar, Tamara, but it's okay.
It's a beautiful name. It's a beautiful lady. And I'm politically correct. I can say she's a beautiful lady, and don't start saying, oh, what are you talking about, Coach? You know, she's a beautiful lady.
All that matters is what's inside.
You better believe it.
So I appreciate that.
Now, before we get started, you just mentioned your dad. And your dad was a big-time Indiana Hoosier basketball fan.
Oh, yeah.
And your dad, as a matter of fact, traveled with me one time to an Indiana basketball game. And your dad and I, we were just honored that day to be in the car with Eddie Hightower.
Oh,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? You know, we were like, we were mashed potatoes. He was, the big steak. But anyway, it was
You told him that too. You told my dad that immediately. You said, look at this guy. See how many people come up to Eddie Hightower, and look at the two of us back here. So tell us that story. I love that.
We went into a McDonald's to get a little snack before, arriving in Bloomington for the game. And we walk in this McDonald's, and Oh my goodness, you would have thought it was a rock star, which he's not. But anyway, they were all over. Oh, Mr. Hightower, Mr. Hightower. Oh, Ed, boom, bah. And your dad and I was, well, let's go get a Big Mac and sit down.
Well, you had many incredible experiences at Indiana, just like my dad did, just like I did. You got to be part of the Bobby Knight era. I mean, what a career you've had as well. We, for so long, said, okay, we are a basketball school. We're turning a little bit into a football school at this point. Not a little bit, a lot of it. We got a national championship that we can brag about for my entire lifetime. But for you, I mean, I'm going to throw the interview questions on you too. Like that era, being part of the Bobby Knight era at Indiana had to be special. But from your position, kind of an interesting take.
I I've told anybody who ever asked me, and a lot of people do. They come up and right away they're predisposed about what they think about Bob. What was that night like? And I go, hey, let me tell you something. I love Bobby Knight. I respected him. I showed him respect. And the fact that I showed him respect and I didn't try to act like I was a bigger guy than Bobby Knight, which we all know this, know your place. When you walk into an arena and Bobby Knight's on the sideline, you're the ref. Bobby Knight's Bobby Knight. And we just had a very good relationship. And I had a couple Indiana Purdue games, and boy, those some. Because Gene Cady was not easy also.
Wow, yeah.
But another great guy. And him and Bob had a good relationship. And Bobby Knight, the other day there was something on Facebook. I go on Facebook a little too often. And there was somebody wrote an article about Bobby Knight. And it was a most negative, nasty, how hard he was on the kids and all. And I wanted to respond. And then I thought, you know what? I'm not going to even give this guy the time of day. I know Bobby Knight.
Yeah, and sports are interesting because it's the escape for everyone. But when you're in sports and when you're working in it, you recognize these are human beings. So we talked before this podcast, shifting gears to the Cardinals, for example, how down and out people were about Jordan Walker and how terrible people were speaking in the criticism the last 2 years. What is he doing this year? The first half, hitting 22 homers, 74 RBI. He wins the home run derby. It's the first time a Cardinal has ever done that. And he's shown so much growth. Now everyone's hopping on the bandwagon. Oh, yeah, I never doubted this guy.
Yes, they did. And you know it.
And you know it. And it's such a human part of the game. And that's what we forget as sports fans sometimes. But when you're working in it, you realize, okay, these people are human. Humans also make mistakes. Humans have tempers. Humans have situations that hurt them or that they lash out about. But at the end of the day, like, we need to remember these people are like you and me. They just have a really special talent that entertains the world.
Absolutely. And, speaking about make mistakes and this and that, I was talking, I had him on my show last week, Vahe Gregorian, and he's just an awesome guy. He's a big-time columnist for this Kansas City Star. And we were talking about mistakes and how people just never let up on them and so forth and so on. And we both decided that that's just not right. The biggest mistake probably in the history of Cardinal baseball was a Don Deckinger call. Guy's out at first base. Cardinals are World Series winners, and he calls him safe. No replay in those days. It was in '85. And what Deckinger didn't go through over the years, it was brutal. And Whitey was a manager of the Cardinals at the time. And Whitey Herzog's one of my heroes. And do you know that we belong to the 1, 2, 3 club? Whitey's passed, but he used to go to all the meetings. And do you know that when Deckinger retired, Whitey Herzog went to his retirement and spoke. You forgive and you forget. Human beings make mistakes. They don't want to make them, but that's how life is, and that's sports.
And that just shows the kind of guy Whitey is too. And the message he wanted to send, because at the end of the day, when there's people in power in the sports world, because everyone's looking to you, seeing how you're acting, seeing how you respond, to be able to send that message to a community who loves Whitey like he did and say, okay, hey, if I can forgive and forget, so can you. I think that's really powerful.
I think it's really important. So now let's get into your career. We know that you are a graduate of Clayton High School. And if you want to talk a little bit about your days at Clayton and talk about some of the interesting things that you did and maybe thinking about your future at that time.
Yeah, I was the editor-in-chief of Yearbook my senior year, so I had a little taste of, okay, I knew science and math weren't my specialties. I still did the AP science classes. Sorry, I wasn't great at them. I tried in math, but at stats, okay, we got to have a lot of stats in my line of work right now. But I played lacrosse, I played basketball. I wasn't great at either sport, but I really loved being part of a team. That was instilled, like your family, instilled in my family from the day I was born. My dad, I was the oldest. I have two younger brothers, and dad and mom both said, you have to be part of a team in some capacity, no matter what, whether it's gymnastics, dance, lacrosse, basketball, soccer, t-ball. I did literally everything. And so then when I realized, okay, I love to write and I love journalism. I love being part of teams and being around that environment. I was always cheering on Jake Brown and the Clayton football team. No matter how they were doing, I was at the front row of the student section because that's like where I gravitated towards and wanted to be in that environment. And then fast forward to when I got into Indiana University, I only applied there because both my parents had went there and I said, there's no other school for me. Tom Ackerman gave me a tour of what wasn't even the beautiful studio that the media school has now at Indiana and said, this could be yours. It's going to be built by the time you're a freshman, and this could be an incredible opportunity. I was like, okay, never really gave TV a thought, but immediately when I stepped onto campus, I realized there's a sports media major. I ran with it. I did everything I could to be the best at my craft and continue to push myself. And it really started freshman year on. This is what I fell in love with. I had amazing teachers at Clayton who encouraged me. I remember like Mr. Ryan in my AP Lit class, Mrs. Tizon in my AP honors or my honors lit course, or Dr. Pieper, who was the head of the yearbook. There were so many people that were instrumental in saying, no, you can do this. We believe in you. And then I took it to the next level at Indiana and had an amazing experience there.
Well, you just mentioned a name, and Tom Ackerman. And let me tell you how far back I go with Tom Ackerman. Tom's dad, Billy, was a really good friend of mine, and Billy passed away at a very, very young age. And every time I see Tom, I talk to him about his dad because his dad was just a special guy, and his dad was really, really good friends with Warren Powers. His dad was a big Missouri booster, and there were three guys over at Clayton that were really good buddies of mine, and all three of those guys had passed, but they were three of the really best guys. And Tommy Ackerman, I said, yeah, I'll tell you what, Tommy, your dad, he knows how well you're doing right now. Isn't he a great guy?
Tom, and that's the thing about the people you get to meet in life, not even just this sports business that you and I have both been blessed to be part of. Tom has been so instrumental in every facet of my life. He told me to take the first job I took out of college. He told me, here's the path that could be laid out. And he spent so much time giving. And he, not just to me, but everyone in the St. Louis community, he's such a giver. He's so wonderful and embraces anyone who wants to learn and wants to hone their craft. Tom's going to be there for you. And I just am so grateful I know him. And I was the babysitter for his girls when they were growing up. And I know they both went to Ladue. One is still at Ladue. So he's just been an incredible, he and his wife have been incredible in my life.
Well, the only thing, I'm a Spady Turtle guy because that's where I do all my subbing. And his kids all went to Reed.
Oh, yeah.
But boy, those are two very good schools.
Audrey and Erica, they're both amazing students too.
Where did you go? What elementary school in Clayton did you go to?
I lived right across the street from Glenridge Elementary.
Oh, Glenridge.
So I went to Glenridge.
And my grandkids went to Merrimack.
Oh, yeah. We were kind of rivals then. Yeah. It's so interesting how Clayton, we have such rivalries in the education too. Everyone, I told you I was in AP Science when I had no business. That's because everyone around me was like, oh, you're not in an honors science? You're not in an AP Science? Sure, fine, I'll be in it.
I'm
we were
going.
Just competitive.
Where do I sign up?
Yes.
Well, oh, wow. When you think about Clayton, and you think about Ladue, and there's a lot of people who, let me tell you something. Those two school districts put out some unbelievable students, and they got some great teachers. And I was a lucky guy when I got hired in Ladue that Dr. Chuck McKenna was the superintendent.
Mm.
He was there for 35 years. Think about that. And I've asked him many times, Doc, how did you last in Ladue for 35 years with those parents and those people? He said, well, it's all about math.
Tell me.
Math.
Yeah.
You want to try to figure that out?
Got it. Clicked a little late, but yes.
How many are on a school board?
Tell me. You know more than me.
I believe that there's 7
Okay.
or 6 or maybe even 5. But McKenna says, as long as you have 4, you're a winner. Keep those board members on your side. But he was awesome, and he allowed me to referee. And he made just one concession that I made. Of course, when you leave school, we can't pay you, and then we'll pay you when you get back to school. If he had said, no, you can't referee, or you can leave here at 4 o'clock and go referee, well, your college career is over. Leave at 4 o'clock. Where am I going? Go over to Maryville maybe and referee a game. So he was awesome to me, and I'm very, very grateful forever. Him and his wife are both still living. They're both 93 years old.
Wow.
And my wife and I, we go over to their house every now and then, bring them dinner, and sit and just talk to him. He's not as sharp as he once was, but he's still sharp. His wife, honey, she knows where all the bodies are buried.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yeah.
And she's as sharp as a tack. 2 wonderful people. So let me ask you, so you went to Evansville, and when you were in Evansville, who was the basketball coach when you were in Evansville?
So David Ragland had just been hired for the UE coaching position. And it was it's interesting in my career. I started, and first big thing I covered was a coaching change at the University of Evansville. I come here, and it's been an interesting ride for both the Cardinals and the Blues. There's been a lot of change, a lot of moving parts, a lot of losing, unfortunately. But that's what has to make you stronger at the end of the day. If you can cover those stories where things aren't happy and cheery all the time, you can kind of conquer everything. But yeah, I started covering the University of Evansville, University of Southern Indiana with Stan Gerard. I covered, and so you got a lot of history there as well. Donnie Baseball, Don Mattingly is from Evansville.
Yes.
I was able to cover someone who out of high school went immediately to the bigs and was able to get drafted out of high school in baseball. So I was able to cover a lot of cool stories. They have the 4th, I believe, oldest ballpark in the nation, which is Bosse Field. League of Their Own was filmed there with Madonna coming to Evansville. So that was a cool experience. I was the sports director there, and that laid the foundation to say, okay, I want to be in this business. I want to be in sports. And the cool story about how I got that job was I met the news director over Zoom because I had graduated in COVID. And the news director was on a Zoom with a bunch of different news directors around the country. And he opened it up basically to questions of students. Like, okay, students, like, you're looking for jobs right now. What do you have to ask? I said, hey, I'm from St. Louis. I'm Tamar. I understand that St. Louis is a big market. That's not where I'm going to begin my career. I know you are all news directors from around the country in mid to smaller markets. I'm wondering how you help young people relocate and how you help them transition into this career that your eyes are wide, but there's a lot of moving parts when you step into the journalism career. My news director, who ended up being my news director at the time, said, hey, well, why don't you come to Evansville halfway home and then I'll get you to St. Louis, as a joke. But then it wasn't a joke because he hired me 2 weeks later. We built a great relationship literally just because I asked a question and he liked my voice, he said.
Well, that's awesome. Well, Evansville, I've got a couple people who were involved with Evansville who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. Jim Cruz.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, I refereed a lot of games for Jim when he was at Evansville. And I'll tell you, one night, he really showed me what kind of a person he was. I had a game at Bradley, and he had one of his players was coming down the sideline. It was late in the game, and he put his foot down on the hardwood and something I could hear a bone crack literally, and he went down to the floor with the ball, and he was really hurt.
Wow.
So by rule that's a technical foul. Not a technical foul. That's a loss of possession. You know, if you have the ball in your hands and
Yeah.
you go to the floor. So I said, there's no way. There's no way I'm going to penalize this guy. So the athletic director for Bradley and a really good guy, Ron Ferguson, he comes flying. Oh yeah, come and start. I say, hey, Ron, you get right. You know, you want to be a spectator. Don't go back to the scoring table. Go sit upstairs and scream all you want, but you're not going to come down here and start yelling at me. I'm worried about this player on the floor. So we did not take the ball away from Evansville. And the kid, he was a great pitcher, and he was out that whole season. That's how bad the. So after the game was over, we were leaving the arena, and Cruz was waiting, and he came up to me. He said, "You know what? That's as good as I've ever seen it. Thank you." And then he came to St. Louis, and when Rick got, and it was, it was people, it's conjecture. They could have given the job to Porter Moser. They did what they did,
Hmm.
and he represented St. Louis very well. And he played for Mr. Robert Montgomery Knight at Indiana. You know that, Jim. And then
Hmm.
the other guy from Evansville, he's in the Hall of Fame, tallest referee in America, Steve Welmer. He's retired now, 6'11". And the big guys loved him
Of course.
because, see, when he worked the baseline, baseline, that's where the big guys are down
Oh,
there,
yeah.
and he never called a foul. Just let him play. And, they loved him. And those big guys could bang and boom, and, hey, they stayed in the game, and the coaches loved Welmer.
Wow. I
So-
mean, and that the game's evolved and changed in different ways, but some things stay the same. And it's the human aspect of the game and the human aspect of refereeing that's so important too, to be able to have that, because every situation is its own.
Absolutely. So I want to see. There's a couple things here I did really want to talk to you about. Let me just circle my mind. When we talked a little bit about Robert Montgomery Knight, why don't we talk a little bit about? And you know him. I don't know him at all. I have a lot of respect for what I think he's doing. Is Mr. Bloom?
Ah, yes. I mean, it's really cool because, first of all, there's a misconception. Oh, this is Haim's first year with the Cardinals. Well, in this role, but he did watch and observe what John Mozeliak did, and he was able to see how Ali went about his business over the last 3 years and just seeing how the Cardinals operated. And then now is able to really make his mark in it. And what I think is so telling is that he is really transparent. And he immediately said, this is the direction I want to go in, and then executed it. And we're seeing that. And I know we're talking at a time where they just had 2 really bad losses in a row. They've been able to come out of those situations in the past. We'll see how they do in the second half. But to see what's been happening this year as they're trending towards player development, they're one of the youngest teams in the entire league in baseball. I think the second. That is so telling because of now what they're doing and the success that they are finding with such a young roster. They didn't have any all-stars on the roster coming in. Then they had 4 guys repping them, including manager Ollie Marmol, at the All-Star game. Dave Roberts and his respect for Ollie Marmol, and Haim's belief in Ollie to stay here, to grow with this team, to see what he can do. There's a lot of really cool pieces, but at the core, Haim's transparent. He's been so wonderful and welcoming conversation with the media, welcoming conversation with everyone. And so I think just from the first view perspective from season 1 of him being the president of baseball operations, it's cool to see. But also funny to see last night John Mozeliak on the other side of things with the Cardinals playing the Angels, and he's up in the booth as the interim GM of the Angels. So there's so much, there's a lot of storytelling in baseball and sports. Some things are just poetic.
Well, and speaking of general managers, my favorite, and I went in the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame the same night he did, and
Yes,
we became very good friends.
congratulations.
Walter Jocketty. What a great guy he was. And Walt, his son was a baseball player at Ladue. And when Walt was in between jobs, and then he got hired to go up to Cincinnati, He's at one of his son's baseball games, and I said, I'd love to come up for a weekend for Cardinal, and you know how people are.
Of
Oh,
course.
sure, Ron, just give me a call, whatever, So my wife and I, we decided we're going to go for a weekend. We had the best seats,
Mm.
3 games. It was the best weekend, and then my wife got to shake hands with Chris Carpenter, who was her major idol. I don't think she washed her hands for about a week. Yeah, it
Aw.
was awesome. It was really awesome.
Well, I will say I've been able to talk to so many former Cardinals and so many former Blues even, and just to see how these guys want to stay in St. Louis because of the education system for their kids, because of the community they build here. There really is a love for St. Louis. Even current coaches like a Daniel Descalzo and John Jay, who decided to come back, be part of the staff, who love this place. As St. Louisans, it's hard not to feel such a sense of pride that, oh, yay, I'm so glad you love this city that we also love so much and get the pleasure of living in for the majority of our lives.
Okay, now let me jump to Missouri football.
Okay.
And 2 of my grandsons think they know everything about everything in sports, okay? And I had heard, and maybe I was wrong, but I had heard that Hardy was not gonna be able to come back this year, but they just sent me a text. He's coming back and he's playing. What do you know about that?
Yeah, this is great timing because the SEC Media Days that we're talking today, it just started yesterday. And Eli Drinkwitz, the head coach of the Tigers, was saying, hey, he's medically cleared at this point. And right now, they don't have a specific day to day, this is where he's going to be, because quite honestly, there aren't many coaches that have to deal with one of their players being shot in the thigh and it hitting one of his bones. So he said, though, that it's going to be a 5 to 8 week period, but that they're expecting him to recover. That's huge. So 5 to 8 weeks, if you're looking right now, that's either the first game of the season opener, or it's going to be right in time for the first SEC meeting. So obviously, we know an All American in Ahmad Hardy is a massive, massive boost for the Missouri Tigers. They want him on the field, him paired with St. Louis's own Jamal Roberts. But yeah, now he's officially medically cleared to resume football activities. So he's been able to be around the team, be around the atmosphere, but now it's that time where he's going to be full-fledged ahead so he can get in football shape. But 5 to 8 weeks is not bad when we're talking in May about him being shot literally
Oh,
in the place that you need to have strengthened for football
you sure
season.
do. Let me ask you this, the quarterback this year, who is he?
Yeah, that's going to be a great question. And there's been a lot of change from when I've been covering these Missouri Tigers. Obviously, I got to have the pleasure of covering Brady Cook. I got to catch up with Brady Cook recently. He and Cody Schrader were in town for their football camp, which is wonderful. Bo Prabula for his short stint. But I know Matt Zollers is someone that head coach Eli Drinkwitz has been praising and loving on. This is an opportunity to figure out the identity of this Missouri football team. And even coach said yesterday it's 50-50 on returners versus transfer portal, freshmen, like all of the people coming in. It's such an interesting time in college sports and a time of an interesting playoff era, but it's definitely going to be interesting. I'm very eager when fall camp comes around to see the strengths of what this team is going to be, because it feels like it's not a copy paste of what we've seen in years past.
That's a tough conference.
Mm-hmm.
It really is, and I don't know. I guess with the portal and everything else. I guess if you have the people and the finances, you can compete with those teams down there. Am I right or am I a little off?
If you have, say that again.
If you have the people who are willing to put out the money, I guess we're just talking about, what some. I heard that the quarterback at Ohio State, $4.1 million,
I know
hasn't taken a snap.
it's a very interesting time in college football. That's for sure. I know. And that's the gray area of, yeah, wanting more and to see just like the conferences in general, the teams in the SEC, the teams in the Big Ten, the teams who are, but then you look at like a school like Indiana, for example, and it's a team that has never won anything in football before goes on to win. Of course, they have won. They've been in Big Ten championship games, but 50 years ago is when they were able to see dominant wins, and then to see what they were able to do after being the team with one of the worst records in football, the worst, and then seeing the turnaround that they were able to have. It's interesting, the plug and play system of how that all came to be, how a coach can impact a team. We talked about that with Bob Knight. Coach Signetti, I think, is one of the most incredible coaches, and maybe I'm a little biased, but
No,
what
he
he's
is.
been able to do and construct a roster has been something that is going to go down in the history books.
What I like about Signetti is that he's not necessarily going after 5 stars
Yeah,
or 4 stars. He's finding a kid who can play that left guard.
yeah, yeah,
He's looking for that tight end,
yeah,
and whatever his formula is, and I'll tell you, he has a presence when he walks on the field that his players have to just feel so confident that this guy's standing on the sideline and directing them. What do you
yeah.
know about him? Do you know him pretty well?
Kurt Signetti,
Yeah.
I have not been able to cover them personally, but I just know as a fan of what I think of him and what I've been able to see from him. And I had one exciting year when I was a student with Michael Penix being the quarterback at Indiana when I was a senior. That was COVID. So it was just an interesting time. But no, now, and to see the many, many awards that Fernando Mendoza, I'm sorry, I'm a Raiders fan now, for all listening, that we don't have an NFL team anymore. So I can't be hated for saying I'm going to follow Fernando Mendoza and have his team be my team. He's just phenomenal too.
With good reason,
Yeah.
right? With good reason. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the St. Louis University. Well,
Yes.
first of all, we talked about Missouri.
Yes. Which I'm going to check
And-
on a couple things as you're asking me this question.
Go ahead and check on.
Yeah.
Whatever you have to check on, check it out.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Let me see here.
Yeah, just so you know, circling back on the Mizzou conversation, it's Austin Simmons who's the transfer that'll be the starting quarterback for the Missouri Tigers.
So he's ahead of that.
Yeah, he transferred from Ole Miss, and yeah, I mentioned the Zollers name because
Yeah.
that's someone who developed in the system, someone that I know Drinkwitz loves as
Yeah.
a human, and I don't know what his plan necessarily is, but I just wanted to get that.
I'm
So
glad-
it's
I'm
early
glad-
in the morning. My brain is
Okay.
glitching, but yeah, I wanted you to know
Okay,
that
so-
is the name.
Let's talk a little bit about the World Cup. You're a soccer gal, and I know you go down to the city, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the Ledoux kids, I think, is Sammy Goldstein. You know Sammy?
I don't.
There was a big article in the a Jewish Light about him, and he's going to Butler, I believe, on a full ride. But he's also with the city.
City 2 developmental
Yeah,
team.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's something that City does so well is they truly know how to grow and develop. Soccer is loved here in St. Louis. SLU, Indiana being so close. Like those are two incredible collegiate soccer programs, but also to have the developmental staff that City has here to get those homegrown talent and those homegrown players that they call them, like that's the goal. And that's what they want to show as like the soccer capital of America is being able to see St. Louis producing the soccer talent. So I know they do a really good job over there, and I've been able to catch up on some stories with
well,
that.
Sammy, he. I mean, I've known him since he was a little kindergartner or first grader over at Spady School, and he's really, he's not a big guy,
Mm-hmm.
and that always kind of bothered Sammy. Other kids are just taller. You know how that goes. But he started playing soccer when he was really, really young. It was something that he was really good at. Got quick feet, and he's really, really good. And he grew, as it happens. Sometimes you just grow a little later than some of your peers.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy for him now because that has been like his life's dream. I mean, soccer, that was it. I mean, I don't care whatever we would do when we go outside for recess, when I was subbing. The only thing Sammy wanted to do when we went outside for recess, he wanted to get the first soccer ball he could find and find some guys to go kick it or play a little soccer.
Awesome.
And that's how you get better.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to do it all the time. Um, I don't know what else I want to talk to you about that would be of interest to our people, but let's talk about red cards in soccer.
Oh gosh.
When they get the red
Okay.
card, what happened?
Yeah.
Here's my thoughts on that. Can I tell you?
Yeah, please tell me.
I talked to Bill McDermott, who's
Mr. Soccer.
Yeah, he is Mr. Soccer, and I just happened to go to lunch with the 1-2-3 Club right after that happened, and I asked McDermott. I said, "Was that a legitimate call?" He said, "Ron, by rule, yes, absolutely." And he's very, very adamant, and he explained the rule to me. And I think that all that took place after that, this is just me as a former coach and an athlete, and then all of a sudden, 3 or 4 days later, the kid can play. I think that hurt the United States team. I think it hurt them. And I think it really gave Belgium some really, really strong incentives to go out there and play the way they played. They played hard. I mean, really hard. They were not happy. But I'm a firm believer that maybe because I was an official, you make a call on the field, that's a call. That's the way it goes. What do you think?
Yeah. It's challenging because that's soccer. And I think that you're really starting to see, yes, it is the world's game, and soccer is so well regarded and loved in the world. But here in America, not being the number one sport necessarily, with football taking the lead. And I think that this is something that been the standard of how the game is played. And then now it's the adapting of, well, you don't see that in other sports and you're not used to that. So now introducing that to maybe new soccer fans or just people who are watching at the highest level, who are having those expectations, I think it's interesting to have that conversation. But yeah, it's really unfortunate. A rule is a rule, but it's how do you allow, and you were an official, you get that to its core, but you bent the rules when, okay, someone broke his foot. Was that what it was?
Well, busted his ankle. I mean, bad, cracked. I mean,
yeah, busted his ankle, and then you made the call from the human side of how you're going to swing that and call that.
Yeah, I would imagine if you talk to the this is this conjecture, but I would imagine if you talk to the official who made that call at that time and has a lot of time to think about it since then, he probably wishes he hadn't made the call. Just play on.
Mm-hmm.
Let him scream at you. Let him play on. I always told officials when I was supervising them that when you make a call that's going to have a really big impact on the game, I don't care if it's at the end of the game, middle of the game, when you make a call that's really an impactful call, you better be sure that everybody in that arena besides you saw that.
Yeah.
Don't you be the only one who saw it,
Right.
because now it becomes highly controversial, and it's a call that you probably shouldn't have made.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. And you've been in the situation. So you've had the training, you've had the life skills and the life moments to be in that, and I would completely agree with you that is, you want to be able, when there's a replay, because now we have the technology and the means to actually see what really happened, that you don't want to second guess yourself.
You don't. You really don't. And officiating is, it's human. Human beings are out there making calls, and the problem I have with officials, and I always did have problems with them, is that when an official goes out there and thinks that he's bigger or whatever than the game, then you really shouldn't even be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had a game, I won't never mention the official's name because I don't want to embarrass him. I probably should mention his name, but I won't. But we had a game at Purdue, and we're standing there before the game. You know how the three guys are across the floor. And he looks at me, and as serious as a heart attack. He says, "See Katie over there?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, he thinks Mackey Arena is his arena. It's my arena tonight." And I thought, you know what, man, you and I are never going to really cross paths the right way. There's really
No.
something wrong with you.
Yeah. You making it about yourself. And that's what's frustrating, even away from officiating, but any industry. If you try and make it the story, for my example, in my position, you try and make the story about yourself and insert yourself, you're really doing something wrong, because it is about the teams that are playing against each other that you're officiating.
And we're going, but I'm going to go about 2 or 3 more minutes because I
Okay.
don't want to let the coach of St. Louis University not be discussed today, because I know how much you think of him.
Yeah.
So come on, tell me all about this guy. I'd love to meet him. I really would. And Sandy Pomerantz. Pomerantz is the greatest Jewish basketball player to ever come out of St. Louis. Period. There's nobody's number two. I mean, he stands alone, and he would really love to meet.
Josh Shirts.
And if I could get Josh Shirts in here one time, even for 15 minutes with Pomerantz would be indebted to me forever.
Yeah, no, Josh is, and because of who he is, I really think he would do it. He is one of the most incredible people I've ever been around in the industry, period. The amount of time that he gives, the amount of care that he takes, the team that he has now and has constructed over the years is because of who he is. He stays committed to programs that give to his team, not give to him, but give to his team. And that's something that's important to note because of the St. Louis guys that stayed here, Jamison White and Sheik Pearson, who decided to stay at SLU when they got so many different offers. Ultimately, I was able to speak to both their families, and JMO's in particular. I mean, a lot of that had to do with the kind of guy Josh Shirts is and the kind of staff that he built. Of course, Corey Tate's a guy that you can't not mention when talking about SLU basketball staffs, because just the culture that he builds and the inclusivity that he has. But Josh came here and he said, no, I want to build something here. He had Robbie Avila, who
Oh
was the
boy, yes.
center of his team, who was able to help him recruit to get guys to commit to SLU. He had guys sacrificing minutes, Robbie himself sacrificing minutes for his final year in collegiate basketball for the betterment of the team. And how to leave them? 29 wins, an NCAA tournament appearance. They trusted the process and said, it's not about you, it's about us. Josh has that mentality that he then shares with his team. It sticks. And that's why they're finding success as a program. And it's been fun being their reporter the last 2 years to really feel that and see it from the inside. And it's so authentic.
Well, I watched the Billikens last year. I didn't go down to any games, but I watched them when they were on TV, and it was a pleasure to watch a basketball team that played the game the right way.
Mm-hmm.
They distribute the ball. They're unselfish. They defend. They rebound. They play with a lot of energy. My goodness, I mean, if you can get your kids to play like that, you're going to win a lot of basketball games. And
They did.
I think the world of him, okay? I mean, we were talking before, I loved a lot of the St. Louis University coaches over the years. I worked a lot of camps there, and I worked with these guys. And as a matter of fact, I'll relay this to you. The last camp that I worked at St. Louis U was the last year that I was a supervisor of officials. So when you're not a supervisor, then you can't get kids to go to those camps.
Mm-hmm.
They go because they're working for you. So I was waiting. Porter Moser was the guy in charge of the camp. Majerus was sick, and Porter was taking care of the camp. It was about the second or third year that Porter had run the camp. And they still had not named Majerus's successor. And I'll never forget this. Porter came down to me and he said, "What's that?" She said, "I want to shake your hand. I've known you a long time." He started at Illinois State. That was his first really big job, and then that didn't go right. And he ended up at St. Louis U as an assistant. And he gave me my check for, and he said, "I'm going to be moving on." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well," he says, "they just named Jim Cruz is going to get the job," and he says, "I've got to move on." and he went to Chicago, and he went to Loyola, and good things happened for him too. He was a good man. I mean, and in St. Louis, you had to make a decision, and they
Yeah.
decided Jimmy Cruz would be fine. So that was my experience with Porter Moser, and it's been a wonderful experience being with you today. I
It's
hope
been
you've
so
enjoyed this. I
wonderful.
hope I've been fair.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. And I think I want to tell you one story about, because we're talking SLU basketball and we talk about relationships. That's how we started this podcast. And one of the relationships that my family was able to build that had the IU and the St. Louis connection is when Calbert Cheney came to be an assistant for the SLU basketball program. And when he came to St. Louis, I believe I was in high school still, and my family invited him over for Shabbat dinner. And so he and his whole family came over with his kids to Shabbat dinner, and it sparked a really deep friendship and continued friendship with him and my dad and my family, that he's texting me when I get onto IU's campus, hey, go make it great these 4 years, like have a blast. And that's all about relationships. He comes here, takes his family to St. Louis, a place, yes, he's from Evansville, so not too far away, but that was a cool experience to be able to say, hey, even though we're in this tight-knit world of sports, the untouchables, you're putting it on for the entire community, it's cool to see the relationships built as well outside of that with the community and how much people do want to grasp and gravitate towards the relationship and community. So that's something you speak very fluently in, and my family does as well. So I just had to put that out
I
there.
think that's a great story. And speaking of Cheney, wow, did he represent himself well at Indiana? And what a fine human being. And Ed Hightower is going to come in here tomorrow. And well, he's actually going to do it by Zoom because he must be, Hightower probably is not doing so well financially. And, the gas money from, Edwardsville to here is probably a little too much for him. So we'll do Zoom with him. But Cheney and Hightower had a major, major great relationship. And I think when Cheney broke that season record, I think that Hightower had something to do with presenting him with
Yeah,
something.
I would agree with you. I want you to ask him about that. Make
I'm,
that be your open.
yeah, and the other thing about Indiana that I'll never forget is that Bob Knight took me into the Indiana locker room, and above every, or I don't know if you're aware of this. If you're not, I'm going to tell you. Above every locker, let's say Ron Zetcher played there, and my locker was number 10. If I graduate, then my name goes above that locker. If you don't graduate, your name will never go up there. And he did not put Isaiah's name up there until Isaiah finally got his degree. That's Bob Knight. And Isaiah was a pretty good player.
Pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
You're going to remember him for a while.
Yeah, for sure. One of the greatest.
Yeah.
But, Bob Knight had, he had rules.
Yeah.
And he followed them.
Standard. Wonderful.
Well, listen, honey, it's been great having you here today. And we have to give a quick shout out to your grandparents. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Barb and Murr.
Go ahead.
And Richard and Joyce, I'll also shout them out. But the amazing Becker Sher grandparents, I'm so lucky and fortunate, knocking on all the woods, to have all 4 of my grandparents. And they've been instrumental in my growth as well, as much as I talked about Karen and Howie.
Well, you're very lucky. You have great parents and you have great grandparents. And what else can I say? Stay well.
Thank you.
Keep smiling. It's a beautiful smile.
And I appreciate you for bringing me on and chatting. I know I've been connected with your family for my entire life, so this is very full circle for me. I appreciate you.
Thank you. And listen, one last thing as we sign off, I do want to say one last thing I forgot earlier. My condolences go out to the Ron Hunt family. I played against Ron Hunt in high school. He still holds a major league record for being hit. Over 250 times he was hit. And Ron, he was just a competitive, tough guy. I mean, he could play, and I enjoyed competing against him. And then one of the greatest U City basketball players of all time, Wilbur Marsh, who went down to SMU and was a captain at SMU. My condolences go out to his family, too. Wilbur just passed couple weeks.
Sorry.
Other than that, we'll talk about good things. Today's the youngest you'll ever be, Tamar.
Yes, and you.
And me, yes. Okay, honey. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. If you like this, it'll be up next Thursday. And if you like it, and then share it with your friends if you have friends. Have a good day.